Hi, friends. Welcome back to our new podcast. We changed up the name a little bit to Wine and Wine, Real Estate Uncorked. I'm here with Quincy Virgilia, my dad, best father-daughter team in the Bay Area. So let's go. Let's start talking about the NAR
Settlement agreement.
Here we go.
Let's do it. So our topic today is the topic that the whole world has been talking about, and unfortunately talking about with stuff that just doesn't make any sense, and that's the NAR, National Association of Realtors settlement agreement, or proposed settlement agreement on commissions.
Right. I think it's important for us to bring light or clarity, I should say, to the topic. There's a ton of misrepresentation, headlines that are causing extra drama, agents that are speaking around the topic without understanding it. And so I feel it's really important that we bring this to the table.
I think it's, our whole goal here is responsible reporting, and we try to share information that's accurate and represents what's real as opposed to what's, in the media. Starting with the myths that are in the media, starting with the National Association of Realtors regulates commissions. Go to the next one, that the 6% commission is gone.
Right.
The next one, this is going to create transparency. This is going to be consumer friendly.
No more buyer's agents.
Yeah, and maybe even no more agents, period.
Right.
I mean,
market crashing.
There's so much stuff that's out there in the media that it actually shocks me how responsible, we would think responsible reporters just go off the deep end with this stuff. And I want to take the very first one. The National Association of Realtors regulates commissions. It's really funny. The National Association of Realtors is a trade group. They're not like a regulating body. They don't, tell us what to do or what not to do.
Right.
We're bound by a code of ethics that they put together for us, which is great. But they've never, ever regulated commissions. And, everyone's talking about that the commission is now going to change, and that, wow, we get to negotiate commissions now.
That's always been negotiable.
What? Yeah, it has been. It's probably been misconstrued because when we're talking with sellers, we discuss commissions with them. And that's what's kind of been the issue of the lawsuit, is that the buyer never had an opportunity to negotiate the commission.
Well, I think one of the big problems I've noticed is that, at least in the way we do business, I talk about how I get paid to my buyers because it's a relationship we're building together in order to ultimately get to their goal of purchasing a home. And we do not get paid until they close a transaction. So I am not going to spin my wheels and then decide on using someone else, as they should be committed or choose me as their realtor to do the best for them as well. So, but not all realtors do that. They don't have the ability to articulate their value, I guess.
Right.
And that's one of the huge pieces where the commissions were never talked about in certain places.
Understood.
So transparency is, I think, what they're referring to there.
Yeah, and so the two things that are going to change if the settlement is approved, and it looks like it's going to be approved in mid-July. And we have, it's interesting. You got to start where we are today. We have I would call an organized marketplace in what's called the multiple listing service. That multiple listing service is like a marketplace where we, as agents that list property, and after negotiating with our sellers, what we're going to offer the buyer's agent is posted. Let's just pretend that number is 2.5%. Well, the buyer's agent sees it's worth 2.5%. I'm going to get 2.5% if I sell that house. The proposed settlement now removes the ability for us to post what the seller is willing to compensate the buyer's agent. So now there's no way to know what the buyer's agent's getting paid. The next thing that's supposed to change is that in order for a buyer's agent to go and show a home to a prospective client, they have to have something called a buyer-broker representation agreement signed, where it spells out what the buyer's agent is going to get paid, and who's going to pay it.
Right.
So let's just pretend that buyer's agent says, I'm going to get paid 2.5% or 3% or 10%, whatever the number is. And now they have to go and show a home to somebody after they sign. You agree to sign it. And I mean, this just gets so confusing to me because, let me sidetrack. A lot of people work on internet leads.
Correct.
So I get an internet lead and I don't know you, but I'm going to have you sign an agreement to hire me. I mean,
Well, I think that's why, and I don't know if you saw, so yesterday Zillow proposed a non-exclusive touring agreement.
Right.
And so this is adding just more confusion to the mix, and I think that's what you're speaking to. And
it is.
And what their hope was to provide transparency, and all it is muddying the water, if you will, because now everyone's operating differently.
That's
Some
right.
people are going to maybe do this touring agreement. Some people are going to go gung-ho for an agreement to show a property. You're going to have agents that bully clients into signing agreements prematurely before they've discovered, wanting to work with them. So there's pressure on the consumer to see a property that they're interested in. This is a whole bag of worms that was not necessary.
Not consumer friendly and not transparent.
Right.
So, and I don't even know, I saw the post on Zillow you shared with me.
Right.
I don't even know if a touring agreement is actually even valid, because the National Association of Realtors, again, with their settlement, is saying that you need to be able to disclose the amount of commission that you're willing to work for in your proposed buyer broker agreement.
Right.
So if it doesn't show it on the touring agreement, then I don't know that it's even valid.
Well, I think it would show it on there. But it's a valid agreement for like
For
7 days.
Right. Well, we're going to get a hybrid on that. I'll watch. I'll bet you'll see a buyer broker agreement that has a interim period, and then either person can cancel after 7 days, or it's automatically goes into the effect.
Well, there will be new disclosures coming in, so
Well,
our DocuSign will get larger.
I just read the proposed buyer broker agreement last night, trying to figure out how to make it work or how to use it, and it's extremely confusing.
Yeah.
It's extremely confusing. So now let's go backwards. So we had that marketplace where everyone knew what everyone's getting paid, and that was negotiable from day one. Discount brokers have been around forever. They've done things for less. They've, Redfin used to offer a rebate to their buyers. I mean, it's been going on forever, so it's never been fixed.
Right.
And it's always been negotiable. Now, so let me back up. I always ask, and I asked my daughter the other day, who pays the commission? I'll wait for your answer. And I'm being kind of silly because, let's just pretend the house is $1 million and the buyer is willing to pay $1 million. Does the seller get $1 million?
No.
No. The commission's included in the $1 million. So the buyer gets, and let's pretend it's 6% for easy figuring. The seller gets $940,000, less than any other cost, of course. But the commission is taken off the top.
Right.
So the buyer pays the $1 million, the seller gets less. So who paid it, the buyer or the seller?
Well, the buyer paid $1 million though. So is it the chicken or the egg?
Chicken or the egg, right? But the seller didn't get $1 million. They paid $60,000 to agents.
But the buyer's paying on $1 million.
Right. So what's the good thing about that? The buyer's paying on $1 million and the commissions are included in the price.
Correct.
So can they finance that?
No.
Sure they can. It's the other way that they can't finance it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah.
So if they have to come out of pocket 2.5%, 3%, 10%, whatever the number is, that's not financeable.
Right.
That increases the buyer's closing costs. How is that consumer friendly?
It isn't.
Yeah. Next thing, which really kind of drives me even nuts more, I'm a buyer's agent. And I'm thinking, okay, the seller's not going to pay 2.5% to me. So am I going to offer the $1 million, or am I going to reduce it by that 2.5%?
It's a good question.
And go one step further. That stuff's just spinning in my head. What about the sale up the street that sold for $1 million with a commission?
Right.
So is that a fair comp now? How are you going to know?
Right.
There's so much confusion here.
I'll tell you that the buyers that I've started having the conversations with around this are already speaking to the fact that because the commissions will not be posted as visible on the MLS any longer, they want me to call the agent and see if number one, they believe in the value that I bring as a buyer's agent.
Sure,
so they
that's
would
the
be
biggest
willing
thing.
to move forward working with me at whatever commission
number,
we
right.
negotiate. But moving forward, to look for properties, which I think most will still be at the same type of situation that we are now, because the sellers will see the value in more eyes on the property and see that their bottom line is greater because of that instead of pulling back on the commissions.
Right. And you just made the most important point, the bottom line.
Yep.
So when we talk to our sellers and you back out all the costs of sale, the bottom line, the net number is what's important. It always has been. And our job is to drive that net number as high as possible. And the commissions are on top of that. So they walk away with the most amount of money. Now, on the buy side, of course, you want to try to get the best deal possible. However, it's going to be not as clear as to what you need to do as a buyer's agent to how you're going to get compensated. Now, it's clear in your agreement, but now you have to go find out, is the seller paying it or are you paying it or some third party paying it?
Right.
Who knows? And it's just not clear.
And that's a huge add-on to the amount that buyers already are bringing in with their closing costs and obviously their down payment and all of the above to get into a property, especially in the Bay Area, it's tough as it is. To add that additional fee on top is a tremendous amount, and not being able to finance any of that. So you're really hurting a lot of people that have saved, oftentimes their entire life to get into a home. And now that pushes them out. Property prices are rising. You're really backing people out of the market completely as far as the ideal of home ownership.
Right. And if you have a federal loan, VA or FHA, your buyer's not supposed to pay closing costs.
Right.
So now you're really eliminating people from the marketplace that use the government financing to get into properties.
Right.
So it's a very confusing time, and it really isn't clear as how it's going to shake out. But we talked just the other day. Change is in our business. It's always been in our business. This is a change we're all going to have to deal with and figure out how to navigate through it. When I got started, the multiple listing was a book, and then it went to the computer, and then it went to the internet. And by the way, thank you, internet, because we, the realtors, allowed our properties to get published on the internet. We made Zillow famous. We made these companies famous because we allowed the property information to get out into the public domain. Maybe it bit us a little bit because we're fighting for ourselves to stay alive. But the reality is that we want to make things happen for our clients.
Well, yeah, I think our focus always remained in serving our clients and providing advocacy, expertise, and constantly evolving, just like we did with COVID.
Yeah.
We had to make quick changes and figure out this business, how to serve our client base. And we did quite well through that. So we'll continue to evolve.
And it will change again. I mean, the whole profession, the whole way we get paid may change. There's going to be a model out there that none of us have thought of yet that's going to say, hey, this is one way to do it. Who knows what that is? Yeah. Yeah. The difference is that other professions, they get paid as they go. Our profession is we don't get paid until we perform. It has to be closed and then we get paid,
Right.
So you perform, and then get paid. Other professions, the doctors, they get paid when you show up. The lawyer, you get paid in advance, it just goes on and on. So I think it's going to evolve into something that's going to be good for everybody.
Right.
Just who knows what that's going to look like.
Well, hopefully it weeds out some of the agents that didn't have the ability to articulate their value.
Yeah, I believe that's probably going to be true, that the number of realtors working in the United States will drop. I think it will fall.
Right.
Because it's you got to stand up for who you are and what we are, and know that what we do is valuable to our clients.
Right.
And it's really interesting just saying that. There are so many things that go on in a transaction for the buyer's agent and for listing agents like us that the client never sees.
Oh, yeah.
And we just go through it as if that's just what we do. And at the end, the client says, "Boy, that was easy." Yeah, it was, but there's like 9,000 steps we did.
Right.
But we don't go out and say, "Here's the 9,000 steps."
Right.
I'll give you one example, and I don't want to get too deep into this side of the thing. When we have a property on the market and it's fresh, and agents start showing it, I was just talking to one of our most recent closed sellers. And I started realizing what I do when I have to go back and chase the agents to find out what their feedback is and everything else. I went through it. I had 19 steps that I do. Now, I've never gone to a listing agent or a listing client, rather, and said, these are the 19 steps I do when I do agent follow-up. It just doesn't happen. We just do them. Our transaction task list is pages.
Well, I think our job is to provide a sense of peace and obviously helping them navigate through one of the most expensive, impactful transactions that you're going to be a part of in your life.
No doubt.
And really taking that burden on and removing them from the unnecessary drama of behind the scenes, making sure they're contractually protected, all of the things that we do. But maybe we need to be a little bit more forthcoming in all the things that we do to make sure that they understand.
Yeah.
That they see that there are 155 steps in our transaction management alone. And that's once we are in contract.
That's right. Well, it's interesting because a lot of, agents just, they're out there and, open the door for me. Well, we're not part of search. We're part of protection.
Right.
We're part of making sure that the decision you make is the right decision and all the things that go in behind that, and making sure you understand that this is the right decision for you. It's just not just go look at a property.
And I think that that's why we, wanted to jump on here, do
Absolutely.
these type of casual conversations around important topics within the industry, making sure that our clients get responsible reporting around dramatic headlines around real estate, and provide value in other ways so that you can use that moving forward. I think, as always, if there's any questions around this topic, I posted on Instagram yesterday and I actually had several people reach out because all you do see is the San Jose Mercury News and this and this and this and no more commissions. Do you need a job, Nicolette? Yes, I will be your barista with a smile on my face, ready to make it happen. So,
well, we're here to make sure that the story is accurate for you, and that I know if you have questions, we're always available for them, and we love talking with people about it. Thanks again for following us and watching us here on our podcast. I want to thank JP Media. Jacob did a great job. He's our new production person here, and I'm just grateful for his help, and I hope you all like it.